Well, welcome. Tonight we're going to talk about a landmark in Milford, something that's been here, and the Fino Pool, Milford Pool, whatever we all refer to it as, is something that we all grew up with and we all have our own feelings about. She served us well. Now it's finally getting to a point where we've got to make a decision. We're not here, well, I'm not here to influence you tonight. There's 3 people who might be, but we really want to understand why this pool is important to many people in Milford and what's involved in saving it, or not. So let's start with introductions.
Peter Filosa, pool manager for the last 50 years.
Is that all?
That's all.
I thought when Patrick
all.
McHenry and the crew came through,
No.
you were there at the pool.
50 years.
James Asam, newly hired as the Parks and Rec Administrator for Milford.
Joe Arcudi, one of the 3 park commissioners.
Pete, let's start with, what is this thing that we call the Milford Pool?
Yeah, you know what? It's been referred to as the Fino Field Pool, the Milford Pool. It's located down in the Fino Field Annex. Originally was in there from around the late 50s, came in as a sand bottom. It's kind of unique if you've ever been there. It's built out into Milford Pond, which is definitely unique. There's only one other pool in the state that's in the same situation, and that's in Needham. It's called Rosemary Lake. Sometime around the early 60s, we changed over to a cement bottom, and we put in a filtration system. So, I mean, if you've ever come down, we have a beautiful grove area, we have picnic tables. I think the uniqueness of the pool is one of the reasons why I feel it should be saved. Not only that, it's to me, it's the fabric of Milford. I liken it to the fact that we have, as a town, we have never abandoned anything. We never abandoned our school buildings. We never abandoned the armory. I don't feel like we should abandon the pool. But what's transpired over the years is, you know, Fino Field is a focal point. State tournament going on there right now, the Allegiant State Tournament. In the past 10 or 12 years, we put the bike trail, which goes right past my pool. So we are located probably in the most recreational part of Milford right now. So I feel like this project is definitely worthwhile. But the reason we have to do it is because the pool has come to the end. It's coming to the end of its lifespan. So it's a situation of you do something or we get out of the pool business. That's where we are.
Well, we've had arguments for many years, you've been involved, where the state offered us Casey Pool up at the Heights. And there was always a question. I mean, logically, shutting down the Milford Pool probably makes the most financial sense, and then having one little pool up in the Heights. What would you say to people that say, you already have a pool up at Casey?
Well, first of all, it's not our pool. That's something that
could be for $1.
It could be for $1, but it's not the same pool.
Wasn't that what the youth center, wasn't that $1? Oh, sorry.
It's not the same pool. I think if you go up there and you look at that situation, and then you come down and look at my situation, you would quickly realize that they are drastically different. The other thing, again, and I'll say it again, it is not my pool. It is not the town of Milford pool. You know, so I feel as though being there, I don't have any real self-interest because I'm at the end of my career. My interest is that I think the pool should continue and should be continue to be part of Milford. We've come up with a great plan, I believe, for, I believe, excellent financial reasons. I think it's a plan that I think we should be able to easily handle in the town of Milford. And so I think we can save the facility. We are intending into turning it into something that's going to last for at least another 30 years. With the improvements that we are planning on making, it will be definitely an attraction and a draw to back to what it is. And currently, we're averaging this year 200 people a day.
Wow.
And to me, you know, I just don't know what, you know.
But there's a lot of people new to Milford. And if you take the emotion out, and we'll go through that, Casey Pool is there. why not just go to Casey Pool?
Well, I
Doesn't
think,
have,
yeah,
go ahead. And I agree with Peter. The Fino Field Pool, it's Milford. It's Milford. It's near and dear to my heart. I learned, that's where I learned to swim. I worked there for Peter, and it's unique. You go up to the KC pool, and I used to swim there a little bit as a kid. It's more of a concrete jungle. The Milford, the Fino Field Pool, it has a little bit of everything. It has that nice courtyard, not courtyard, but playground feel to it with the trees and what have you. Picnics, you're in the shade. It has the look of, overlooking the pond that they just redid, the bike path, the athletic fields. It's more inviting, I feel.
right, and leading off with what Joe's saying too, following what Joe's saying is, on the recreation side, a lot of things that are being offered with the new pool are going to be multi-use. There's a idea for a playground within the facility, which would be able to be used by both the pool and Vandalism and trail users and annex users, whoever's coming by there. There's in the plan, the bathrooms and showers are going to be segregated where when the pool's not open, those bathrooms can be used for the facility down there. The old bathrooms that are existing now, we're not going to get rid of those. We're going to keep those for the Vandalism facility. So now we're gaining, with all this, we're gaining facilities for the whole complex. And with that, I think, you're going to have the multi-use. A lot of our playgrounds are within the school. And, people that have younger kids that aren't in school quite yet are looking for playgrounds, but they can't go to some of these playgrounds for reasons of the school being in session. So they're going to have that option.
When you think about the pool, the Milford Pool, for a long time we've had the debate over when you go to Casey Pool, and I grew up, there was still a picture in the Milford Daily News, when it was still Milford Daily News, of two of us up on the diving board.
The high dive, yeah.
The high dive,
Yes.
before,
I remember.
before they opened it. But it didn't have the feel of Milford. When I think about it, I had friends, and now I have a grandson. I want to take him to the pool. I can take a little picnic basket. I can go down to the Fino. And, it starts with, 6 inches deep?
6 inches of water. Yeah.
And Joe, you mentioned you swam in there as a kid.
Yeah.
Think of all the Milford kids, and it's sexist, and I apologize, but you were a man when you could swim across the deep end to the pier.
Yeah.
That was the rite of passage.
Yes, and it
Yeah.
still is.
Yeah.
It still is.
That's right.
That's the big deal down there.
It always was. It was our pool. And you could go down there with a family and hang for the day. It had trees. The one thing I never could forgive the architect of the Casey Pool was they wouldn't put a dang tree up there because of the leaves.
Yeah.
It's
I
common.
remember winning the Little League championship down at Vandalism when it was a Little League
Little
field.
big
and then-
field.
And running right into the pool.
Running
Running right
the
into the
pool.
pool. That
Yeah.
happened many a time.
Yeah,
Softball
exactly.
championships
Yep,
down there,
that's right.
everything. Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
so
A lot of good memories.
to me, when we decided to do Stacy, financially, it was the silliest thing we ever did. It would have been much better financially to knock down that Milford granite and put up an ugly glass building. Would have been much cheaper. But somehow it didn't feel like Milford. So it cost us more to build inside. But today, how can you not be proud of Stacy?
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
Anthony Consigli and crew, the fact they saved another Milford building. You know, the Armory. All of that, I mean, You know, we squeeze the Parks Department and every other department as much as we can every year.
Yeah.
But to me, you squeeze the department so that you can do things like save parts of Milford.
And now you have the trail that's cutting right through the center of all that.
Now,
people
you know, the
use.
one thing, let's, from an architectural point of view, and why don't we start with an introduction now that we've let you in the room?
Thank you. My name is Thomas Carlotta. I'm a principal with Bargman Henry Plus Archetype. I'm the architect. I've got a lot of experience with municipal swimming pools dating back to the early 80s. I actually am very familiar with the Casey Pool. I have a contract. I do a lot of work for the state. And you're absolutely right. That's a state pool. Your comment about it doesn't feel like Milford. I can show you about 6 other pools that are cookie cutter of that pool. You just happen to have one of them. And it's the same.
Tom, the only thing that felt like Milford was in the first bathroom. You had 4 of us who put our hands in the cement before it hardened. That was probably the only part of Milford that went in there. Now, from an architectural point of view, why would you design a pool with the Milford Pond on the other side? That's always been perplexing.
Well, a pool is a structured environment. I get the same question. I'm doing a pool in Salem on the harbor. Goes, why do you want to put a pool if I have the ocean? You really can't do structured swimming lessons. You can't do certain activities in a
No, I'm asking the wrong question. If you're going to build a pool,
Yep.
one side of that wall, where the piers are, or whatever we call them
Yeah.
these days, is Milford Pond. Why would you build a cement wall holding out Milford
So
Pond?
you're saying 60 years ago.
60 years ago?
Yeah, why? I'm trying to figure that out. Why?
Many of the pools I've done, I'll go back to too, is that it's always been a bad site, bad soil. Someone sees an open plot of land, it's wet, great place for a pool. I mean, that's really all, it's an open land. And it's also, but they used the pond originally as part of the water filtration and part of the access for the pool. I've done a lot of pool renovations that they call both fill and spill pools. They had high water, a pond or a stream. They would run the water through the pool, just drain it straight through. So you're using
We
the
were swimming in Milford Pond water?
Originally, yes. Yes, you were.
Yes.
Okay, I may change my mind on this. Because I would
just.
just think structurally, that's got to be a bear to maintain.
That wall is actually in pretty good shape.
Really?
The pool, and again, for a number of reasons, that wall will stay there as sort of a remnant of the past because it keeps us. We're going to fill and build a pool a little bit upstream, away from it, but from a permitting standpoint, an environmental standpoint, we don't want to disturb the Charles River.
So what you're saying is when Pete and Paul Revere poured the cement,
Yes.
they did
Paul,
pretty
yeah.
good.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, they did. And again, it was a local company who did all that work, Consigli
now-
Construction.
Well, I mean, they're alone. There's a family that's,
They took care of the pool for a number of years.
well, the pool,
Yeah.
St. Mary's. I
Yeah.
mean, there's something to say
Yes.
about Milford. When Anthony and his crowd, when we were in trouble redoing St. Mary's, day later, there was Consigli. And they didn't have to be there, and they didn't make any money on it. It cost them money to help us.
Yeah.
So, but now, when we look at the structure, this new pool, one of the things I absolutely love, and I know a lot of people do, is the fact that you start with this much water, and it's not like 5 feet. There's a large area for the little kids to play in. Are we keeping that?
Gonna
Yes.
start with this much water.
Well, no, pool designs probably for the past 20 years have gone more towards an aquatic. It's not the pool. You have call it a beach entry. So I can walk from the deck directly in the water. The water, every 12 feet, it gets a foot deeper. But it gives you plenty of access, not only for kids, but for adults. One of the most
Wheelchair.
wheelchairs, plus even a senior, even someone
Even
like
old
myself.
people like me can do that.
Exactly, we'll invite you down too.
I'm there too, so I'm not worried about that. But it's also too, I mean, it's a more dignified way for an adult to climb into a pool rather than either jumping in or climbing down a ladder. You can just walk into the water. Plus also you can walk in holding a child's hand. It's much easier to get into for familiarization. And also the pool's looked at so that it's of all ages, so it's multi-generational. So I can, in one body of water, I have little kids, older kids, up to adults, and try to provide an activity for all of them together. Because the whole idea, I think what you're saying is you want to be able to have a family to come for the day. You got a beautiful site with trees, picnic, you got bathrooms, and they can spend the day there. And it's not just parents, it could be grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever who's ever there, so.
Well, it also seems like an affordable place. I mean, what does it cost for?
Currently, we charge $1 for children, $3 for residents, and $4 for non.
So I can take a whole family down there for less than McDonald's, less than $10.
Definitely less, yes. Yes.
I mean, that's something to keep in mind because during the summer, there's a lot of people who, what do you do with the kids?
And I field a lot of calls, you know, and I was actually coming from the working side, not being aware of the people calling in for, you know, asking questions about the pool. And I field a lot of calls about the pool, like, you know, checking hours, checking fees, you know, when's the pool opening, you know, things like that, which we post on the town website anyways. But, you know, that's a huge part, I think.
We
You know,
service,
Yeah, go ahead.
we service a very diverse population. Milford's population now is quite diverse, and we service it. You know, we have not ever had anybody come we have never turned anyone away. If you don't have the money, you're swimming. You're part of Milford, you're swimming. But along those lines, we have never had anyone ever complain and say, oh, man, this is too expensive. Or more often than not, especially people who come from out of town, non-residents. It's only $4. That's the most common thing that comes out of it. It's only $4. And if the water's filtered, it's beautiful. How long you been? And then when I tell them we've been here for 60 years, you know, they look at us like, how come you never have? I said, that's not my department. I said, but we've been here that long. I had a lady come yesterday and said, you know, I've lived in Milford for 22 years. She goes, I never knew there was a pool here. Yeah. And she had her grandchildren with her, and she brought them down to swim. Someone had told her about the pool. So, you know, that's kind of what we're trying to save and keep, which is not the state pool.
State pool is sterile. I mean, you know, you understand it. It's a cookie cutter, but it never was us. I mean, you think about how many kids behind Vandalism Field in the tunnel got their first kiss. You know, you remember it. It's embarrassing, but you know.
Crossing the bridge to go to swim lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or walking by and getting all the colors
On your feet.
On your feet from
Stylon.
Stylon.
Yep.
Or those dang turtles.
That's when we might have not been too environmentally friendly, but those things have all improved, though.
Yeah, but it's all part of growing up
It's
in
the
Milford.
fabric. Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
You know, we can laugh and we both say Stylon at the same time. We knew it.
Absolutely.
You know. Now, when we look at the pool, if you describe the current Milford pool, how would you describe it?
A large body of water with a lot of non-usable water area, in the sense that you have. I've done a number of pools where you have more shallow water than you have deep water because of the zero depth. I think that's a great idea what they did. The shape of the pool, you can go in from any
So it's
place.
a fan-shaped pool.
Right. That goes
with
down to a deeper end.
The deeper end's what, 6 feet?
About 5.5.
Five
and a
with
half?
the drains,
Yeah.
I remember thinking it was, 50, 100 feet deep
Oh,
when I
yeah,
was a
well,
kid.
yes.
And then when they
it's the
said 6
design,
feet,
it
it's
has
like,
that
you mean I
appearance.
can stand up?
Yeah.
So it's a large body of water with a lot of shallow water, which is great. But in terms of for today, where you want to be able to have some lap swimming, you want to be able to do other things for swimming lessons, it's not really conducive to that. I mean, you can lap swim, but there's really nothing to swim to back and forth because you're going from shallow to a shallow. So I think you can do get a lot more usable water and actually in a more compact pool. And it'll be a conversation, I can guarantee you, when you present the pool, and it happens all the time, because but our pool is so big, how can we make a much smaller pool? It says, let's look at how you do it. And again, you can accommodate the number of bathers that you have doing lap swimming, recreational swimming, swim lessons, little kids, all simultaneously.
Now, we got a fan,
Yeah.
and you had the piers. I never understood what the piers were for, but
We used to use them for teaching diving during swimming lessons. We actually, when I first started working there, when we had the sand bottom, we used to allow diving off the piers because the depth was much deeper then. We came up probably at least a good foot when they added the concrete. the bottom to it, so.
But those are, right now, the piers are buttresses to keep the wall from falling in.
Exactly.
Oh,
They're structural,
okay,
yeah.
so it's structural.
Right.
So I never figured out what you're doing with them.
That's where we used to sit as lifeguards, too.
That's
We
right,
used to
we
have-
still sit there.
We had the four.
We still sit there.
Every 15 minutes, we used to
Yes.
rotate. Yeah.
Yes.
So the fans there's a lot of kids, I just call it the kiddie area. Because
It's large, a very large area.
Very wide. 4 piers to hang out on, or to aim when you were trying to swim across the middle, and you know, how many times you got like, no, and then you try again, and finally you made it, and you're looking around for,
Not
where's
all
the
of us made
band?
it. I remember not making it.
I finally made it, looked up and said, now there's no band and cheering, I finally made it. How do you describe what we're calling the new pool?
Again, we're providing the same type of a zero depth, a shallow entry, so you can easily walk into the pool. It's a fairly large, generous area to put the pool to keep for the littler kids, except then you also now have more of a structured area. I think we've shown lane lines.
Lane lines.
And again, you could have one lane line across, you could have multiple people on a lane line, you could have 4 people doing lap swimming, but then the rest of the pool can be just general
So
recreational
it's not a
uses.
fan anymore?
It's a fan, plus we have another, it's sort of attached to a rectangular portion of the pool too. So it's,
So you got a pool going
Yep.
this way, and then the fan kind of out here?
right.
Oh,
And that sort of divides, and it also divides like shallow to deep, so that way too, with a flow, you'll keep the smaller kids in one area versus the other area of the pool. It gives more flexibility for programming and control. Even if you start doing swimming lessons, that way too, you keep all the kids, and again, the zero depth area is actually a really good area.
Oh, it's excellent.
Particularly for young kids for swimming lessons, because again, it's a very easy way to go into the water.
to me, it was just wonderful when you take the kids down, the grandkids, because they can be in 6 inches or whatever of water and just entertain themselves.
Plus, we're incorporating into the new design, if we go with what we're looking at, we're gonna incorporate what's called a splash pad, which you've probably been familiar with. Those are the ones where the water just shoots out. There's zero, no water at all, little features. So the idea is to be able to now go down even lower than where a child can walk. He could crawl through this feature.
So it's just
We're trying to go as low.
like a strainer and just a shower, or
It's actually-
Go ahead, Tom might be able to.
You'll have it'll be a concrete, we have a surface, and we normally put on it, it's like a playground surface, so it's soft. But then, I mean, you can see, you've seen water features in pools where you have mushrooms and things. This is actually, the ones we've done, which have been economical, are just different jets, and the jets themselves create arches, water
From
that shoots
below
up.
or from above?
From below.
From below. They
From
spread
below. And they're interactive too, because you'll have a line of jets, and then you'll watch the kids, they'll stand on one, and the other ones go up higher. And so they can play with it, or you have water arches that can either shoot intermittently, or it's continuous, and it's like playing under a sprinkler, except they're more complicated sprinklers.
now you
Sort of
said,
like the water show from at Ocean's 11 from
Oh.
Bellagio, just not as expensive.
yeah, now you said economical. We'll get into cost later, because the word economical doesn't seem to fit in, but when you say economical, how much, does that add 10% to the cost of the pool, 20%?
Well, it's really a separate little area too, completely separate.
Yeah.
It depends on how we do it, whether we filter it or whether it's just water. A lot of towns run them where it's just domestic water.
Pass through.
That goes
The water just
into.
goes through, you know, filter it.
And it's not running constantly. There's a little that was just part of the fun. There's a little they call them actuators, where the kid will come up, touch it, the water comes on for a set period of time.
Nobody's
and
there,
it shuts
there'll
off.
be no water.
Yeah.
But now, if you're just running water through, I mean, Milford Water Company over the past few years, I'm always amazed, coming up Silver Hill Road in February, it says, water ban, do not water your lawn. I'm looking out at 3 feet of snow,
Yeah.
wondering what smart person would consider trying to run sprinklers in the snow. What happens if you're using water?
One of the reasons we are trying to go forward with this project is our main problem at the pool right now is the structural integrity of the bottom of the pool. We are losing large amounts of water every single day. And it's not noticeable down there because we're built into the pond, so it just goes out into the pond. But
Wait a minute, that many kids, you can't put bubble gum?
Yeah, We fill the joints and the cracks every single year. We did it this year, but the water is seeping out at a higher rate. Also, with the new pool, we'll have less water in it to begin with.
So
So right
portions of
away,
the
we're
pool
going
will
to
be
save.
filled.
We're going to save water.
How can you have less water? Smaller?
It's a smaller, it's a small, again,
Yeah.
it's.
So
it's a smaller
portions from the
footprint.
wall, he's coming out from the wall with the new design, coming out from the wall, and that would actually be a grass area or a concrete area.
So the old wall with the buttresses or with the piers, as we call them, will stay.
We'll
Correct.
stay.
Right, but be filled in, and then the pool will be.
So
built
you
again.
reinforce it.
Yeah.
Because that's 60 years old. What happens when that,
That can be reinforced, but we can also do that. I'm trying to do all the work on the inside from the shoreline, trying to avoid getting into the water at all. That way, it's from a permitting standpoint, and from a conservation standpoint. We're also trying to, what we're doing when we fill is to bring the water up, bring the new pool deck up. Because if you walk the site right now, when you enter in on the far end, there's a kind of a walkway which is relatively
Right.
level. Then you slope
Slope down.
to the pool. Well, we want to bring the pool deck up to that level. Now, that does a couple things. Number one, it brings me out of the water level next to the pond. It also gives me, it gives me a fully accessible site. So that way I can walk in from an accessibility standpoint. But again, the biggest thing is getting me out of the water. And it also, we don't disturb, we're going to leave a lot of the existing pool actually in place without having to take it out and just build on top of it.
so it'll be like a liner?
It'll just be left in place and again,
just
just
put it
not
on-
disturbing it, yeah. 'Cause
But
that's,
now, this water issue, when we can't get enough water to water our lawns, how does that splash pond work? Are they
Well-
gonna come down and gripe and groan
Well,
about it?
You know, I mean, I would have to think like, looking at what I do right now. Right now, like, for example, today, every day I typically go in there around 11:30. I turn the water on because we've lost about 3 inches of water.
What does that mean in gallons?
That would probably be about 20,000 gallons of water.
Well, 20,000?
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, it's never noticeable because, the pond doesn't go up, so. And, one of
Are
the
we
things.
buying this water?
We are buying it. And thank God, thanks to the Milford Water Company, they have never approached us and said, Peter, you can't fill the pool, you can't do this. They've always bent over and said, Peter, just do what you have to do. But the reason we started this idea of building a new pool was we're coming to the point where
20,000 gallons a day?
easily,
How much water does this pool hold?
a lot.
It's a tired pool.
It's a very tired pool.
I was gonna say, if the Milford Water Company came down
but-
to
and along with
complain,
that-
send the grandmothers out there.
Al, and along with that, along with that loss, it's a chemical loss. We're cleaning brand new water every day. We are about as inefficient, but again, at 60 years old, we're probably doing pretty good, considering the situation. So we are at that point where we either need to move forward or we don't move at all.
Well, I mean, there's a fundamental decision. Do we
Absolutely.
have a Milford pool?
That's exactly it. That's
You know,
where
for
we are.
years,
Yes.
for years, we've had, well,
We know what our feeling is, but
no, I could just imagine, you joke about the water company coming, have, old Joe or the original Joe with grandchildren down there and somebody down, kids can't swim. Oh, I see how well that would go over.
no, wouldn't go over at all.
I could see,
Well,
or the grandmothers.
Yep.
Grandma Arcudi being told, I'm sorry, your kids can't swim here anymore. Oh yeah, that would be a site I don't want to be near. But, you start thinking about, fundamentally, I've been crying and moaning about $300,000 to line this pool. How many times? 200,000 here to put a couple Band-Aids. We're past that, aren't we?
Well past Band-Aids.
Yep.
Well past.
I mean, there's no way of spending
No.
300,000.
No.
Because the last time you came and said 300,000, I'll get another 4 or 5 years. We were like, yes.
That was a long, long time ago,
Yeah,
too.
but that was yes.
Yes.
And here we are 8 years later.
Yeah.
That's right.
But fundamentally, we're talking 3.5 million or bust.
Somewhere in that area. I mean, you don't know till you obviously go out to bid and see what you know, who knows? You know, you don't know. You just don't know. I mean, we use a figure that, you know, the architects come up with,
But-
based on certain
But
things.
Peter, whether it's 3
But I
million,
think my
whether it's
feeling
three
is-
and a half, 3, it's a huge number.
It's a big number, absolutely.
You know, it's something that goes past analytical reasoning. You know, we're not going to be able to compare Casey Pool operating costs, Milford Pool operating, because you throw 3.5 million in there and it goes over.
Well, and the side that I'm looking at, and I'm seeing each week now when Peter brings in the numbers of the people, I'm amazed the amount of people that are attending that pool weekly. And you're talking that right this summer for the last 4 weeks, you're averaging over 1,400 to 1,600 people.
A week?
A week.
We're averaging 200 people a day, currently. 35 days in, we're averaging 200 people a day.
Now, fundamental question. Why would they go to Fino versus Casey?
Again.
Family pool.
Family pool. We attract, for example, Mr. Marcone's program. He comes once a week. He's not going to go to Casey. He couldn't, he would overwhelm the place. He doesn't overwhelm our place. Plus, he has a diverse population of young and older children, starting down at kindergarten, working their way to 5th grade. My pool, excellent. I mean, he's totally excited about this project.
The youth center, they walk down from the
The
youth
youth
center.
center, we service them 3 days a week.
They're not going to bus them
We
up
have a
to
group that comes from
Casey.
Medway, all special needs students. 90 of them come every Friday during the summer. And they pay to use the pool, and this lady, she said, Peter, I hope you never go away. You know, and this is going on about 10 to 12 years. Again, why is our pool an attraction? Because with that group of children, some can be in the low end. Some of them are very good swimmers. They swim right out to the wall. But the fact of the matter is that we have an area
I
to
hate kids like
accommodate.
that.
You know?
It took us for how long to get
Yeah,
to swim to the pillar?
I know.
Listen,
Yeah, come
Jimmy's
on.
still waiting.
I still haven't done it.
I mean, all kidding aside, but you know,
You know, Al, I think, you know, there's no question it will be a big number. But having lived in Milford for a long time, I know the way the town has handled finances much better than a lot of towns around. And I'm not saying that because it's true. I just think that it's a project that can be done. And I don't think it's going to impact on the finances of Milford unless there's something that I really don't see as a taxpayer. And I am a taxpayer. So, I mean, that's where I'm coming from.
well, you know, anytime you get into numbers like this, it impacts. It's going to hurt. But the reason we squeeze, I know poor Jim says he's got too much money and not enough to spend it on every year.
yeah, sure.
But you know, we squeeze here and there wherever we can so that when things come up like Woodland,
We
I
did.
mean, $60 million school, and we didn't have to use profanity.
Yeah.
We didn't use those 2.5 override words or
Yeah.
debt exclusion. But this is why we squeeze like we do.
Yes.
You know, everybody keeps saying, why are you putting money away? I said, school's coming. In
Yeah.
8 years, there'll be a new high school renovation.
Or something.
Or, you know,
This town has always been a fiscally responsible town, going back for
A long way.
for a long way, for as far as I can remember. I mean, you know, being a town meeting member and being involved, I've seen it recently. Listening to my dad going back years and years, and my grandfather and my uncles and what have you. And this town has done a great job at that, where it has been able to handle big projects, whether it's Woodland School, whether it's the field project, the Stacy School. This number we're looking at is a big number, but it's not a number that this town can handle.
right.
And
It's benefiting a lot of groups. You know,
Exactly.
departments work together and this and that, but now you have your community use, your youth center that use this pool. Now, what are they going to do if this pool's not there?
You know, and you're giving it a perspective as a true Milfordian. You, like my daughter, I'll say, you now qualify. You're third generation Milford, and you live within 2 miles of your mother. So you're a real Milford person.
And if Alexa was here, she would tell you how important pools are.
Oof. Now, when we talk about this pool, we have a shell, and you say, Tom, some of it's going to be left. explain to me what are you going to build and how and.
Well, in a nutshell, I think we start with that existing wall and we fill it in. We'll take out parts of the pool, sort of on the side, up near the walkway, because I have to create some depth. I have to put piping and things in. But again, that's the whole purpose of just non-disturbing the site from a permitting standpoint, from a cost standpoint too, because there's no reason to pull it out. That bottom of that pool is not going anywhere. That's been sitting there for 60 years, so it's settled, and we're just going to build on top of it. And again, we've done this on a number of different pool projects. I think the other point that, in terms of looking at this project, which is what you're doing, which is very similar to a lot of pools now, is that by placing the bathhouse building where we are, by maintaining the existing bathhouse, the playground, it becomes part of a bigger park setting. It's not just a pool. So with this project, you're gaining a comfort station for the park and the bike trail. You're gaining a playground, and all those things can be used off-season. Because if you're building a pool, and again, I hear this all the time. It's like we're building a pool that's going to be run for the most part from school to middle of August because you lose all your lifeguards. This way too, you have a facility that can expand out beyond that, and with a spray deck too, that can be opened prior to the pool opening. So you could actually have, if you don't have lifeguards on Memorial Day and it's hot, or once school goes back in, you could still be using the first couple weeks of September, the spray deck as a place for the kids to cool off, for little kids. So
Okay.
I mean, you're trying to go beyond that, just the basic pool.
Now, you mentioned the bathhouse. I mean, when we had Woodland, and I'll ask you because I don't know lately, the bathrooms were never open. We put all these bathrooms in, and they were always locked.
Up at the Woodland School.
Woodland, I mean, there
Yeah,
were
years ago, so coming on the employee side again, we had a lot of vandalism issues up there, and they're sort of out in where the bathhouse here would be more centrally located to the whole facility, where anyone's going to see it that's in the fields, anything that might
But
be.
it's going to stay open?
We can use it for when the fields are being used, yes.
That's my point. Is it good?
Yeah.
When you got your grandson or your son or daughter, and they got a wee-wee,
Right.
is there going to be a bathroom there for them?
Right.
The idea, Al, is to eliminate porta-johns.
Yeah.
Which we don't like.
So I've been adding porta-johns to different facilities because it was brought to my attention that, Louisa Lake, I know Lenny uses it for some of his camps, but a lot of people use that trail, and a lot of people have voiced their opinion saying, would it be possible to have a porta-john here? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So we found a place where it wasn't such an eyesore, but, off to the side, but it's been.
Well, it's better than nothing.
Right.
Right.
It's better than going out into the woods with your child and, okay, I can't make it home. Horrible to say, but fact of life.
Right.
But the question is, will these bathrooms stay
The
open?
idea behind our design would be that when we close down at night, the pool closes down, we will be able to section off the bathroom area so it can stay open to the public on the bike trail, using the fields or whatever. We come in the morning, we would open everything up because we would have our people there coming. And then also,
What was the vandalism in the bathrooms?
Up at Woodland?
Yeah, that
you
kept
name
them
it.
all closed.
They had the concession stand also, so the kids were breaking into the concession stand there to, find candy or money or whatever might be in there. And, obviously the bathroom's right off of that. so.
How are the high school bathrooms done?
High school bathrooms are open for events. They're not open,
Yeah, but if we
throughout-
had a soccer game there, a
Right.
soccer tournament,
They'd be open.
they'd be open.
Yeah.
Okay.
So any time you have, like Peter's saying, if they're there, that facility will be offered to the people walking down the trail if they like that. Just as if at Fino, when we're there during the day, if we have the bathrooms open, people will come over and say, hey, I'm coming off the trail, can I use the bathroom? Yes. As far as leaving them open, when there's nothing going on, there's a risk there.
No, I think the gripe was, okay, we have an official MHYSA soccer
yeah,
day.
Right,
The kids have to pee.
right. It needs to be
And
open.
when the dang things were closed,
Right.
yeah.
the
bushes,
the bushes, or you're throwing them in a
yes.
car,
Yeah.
saying, just hold it,
Right.
please. We'll go
Yeah,
somewhere.
exactly, and that's what we're trying to incorporate into our design, on both ends. because the current bathroom, Tom has suggested we could also redesign some of that to incorporate, if people are using Vandalism Field, they could access that.
Well, that's what I'm
bathroom.
thinking. I mean, you got baseball day.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we have Pop Warner footballers down there at night, and they use our bathrooms now, but then at 6 o'clock, we lock it up because it's the pool. They
Then
can't
they
use
can't.
it. So the idea is to be able to have it so they can, the young kids
So
can
now
use
back
it.
to the pool. We got this shell. For a layman, what do you're filling it with concrete to make a new pool? What are you doing?
We build a brand new pool structure. Mostly it's going to be out of, it's concrete, it's gunite, a dry mix, which is a gunite, it's a product, it's a single shell. We can have conversations about whether it's going to be plaster, whether it's going to be paint. That'll be a conversation about, from a maintenance standpoint, what you want to do.
Yep.
We got to look at what we can do about keeping water out of it. State law requires you to either drain the pool completely or cover it. So
You mean in the winter?
in the
Yes.
winter. And again, so with that, again, those are part of like a detail that will come up. I think we can get enough elevation, we'll be able to just drain it out. So as water, like you get runoff or rain, can drain out, because if we get the pool up high enough, that can work. Or you put a pool cover on it. I think part of,
That'd be a big pool cover.
it's actually relatively small, I think some of them I put on.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking if somehow you can drain it, because you're going to get snow.
Right, the preference would be to try to keep it drained out naturally, so that when it gets in, it comes out, because, again, once you have a pool cover, then you gotta take it off, you gotta store it someplace, which you can do, I mean, a lot of people do that, but they try to keep it drained out.
Yeah, but then not that you would abuse the cover, but when the cover wears out, it's got to be an expensive replacement.
Well, it's the same as what we do for baseball fields. I mean, Fino Field, we've had to replace the mound covers, and each year it's just a maintenance thing.
Pitcher's mound.
Pitcher's
Little.
mound. Yes.
Pool.
Yes.
Big.
Yes.
It's like a 15-year item, on the pool that size, it would probably be somewhere around 20 grand, 25, 30
Oh.
grand for the cover,
Ouch.
yeah.
Don't ruin the pool cover.
But that's part of it, there'd be a lot more
So
conversation
you would
about that.
build a tub, a new
Yep.
pool, and,
Completely
and just
independent
use the
structure.
old pool as kind of a support mechanism.
It's actually, you would fill it with dirt, right, Tom?
They'd fill it, I mean, it'll just be below it.
Oh,
Yeah, and then the whole idea too is
You
that
would
way
actually dig a brand new pool in this.
In
right,
this
am I,
dirt.
correct,
Right.
like that?
it's a completely independent structure.
Yeah.
Put in a layer of stone, also that way we can control ground, if we ever have to do maintenance, we can control groundwater. And again, the idea too is that what we're trying to do with the new building, as well as with the filter building, is to get it out of your floodplain. I mean, I know you haven't really had,
well, that was a question, because every time we talked about sprinklers or whatever in Fino, it was you can't do anything in the annex
Annex.
because it's in the
It
floodplain.
is in the
Floodplain,
floodplain,
right.
absolutely.
Isn't the pool in the floodplain?
Part of it is, yes.
the pool is one issue, but the buildings, like what we're looking at doing, like the bathhouse where we're showing it, the new entry building, is actually up outside of the floodplain. It's sort of moved up from where you go in now, there's the gate at the parking lot, so we've moved it uphill.
So that's still floodplain?
Right where it is now, that walkway is in the floodplain.
That walkway.
So we would put the
The
building.
current bathhouse is, the current
Oh, the cur-
bathhouse is in the
The
floodplain.
current bathhouse is also too close to the wetlands. It's,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it's
in the
right now,
way.
you really
But
couldn't make
that's, isn't
modifications.
that up higher? No?
No,
Not on the backside.
not on the backside.
No.
And then what we were looking at doing is that your existing filtration is in basically a concrete bunker that's below grade. And what we're looking to do is use that as a foundation, leave that as we're gonna have the water come in as a reservoir, as a surge tank, part of the filtration, clean it up, build on top of that. So that gets me up out of the floodplain. And it also gives you access to all your filtration, all the electronics, everything else in a dry area. You don't have to go down into into the pit.
So you're saying the pool today holds 200 in the shape it's in?
Oh, more than 200.
Not much more.
Oh, much more. My capacity probably right now would be, I would say 430, 450 in that area.
And what
Based
will
on
this
surface.
new pool be?
We're at like 275 to 300, depending on how we do that.
Yeah.
But you don't see that 100 less people capacity, you don't see as a problem?
No, no. Like I said, my biggest day this year was the day that the state pool was closed. They were closed for a day. And that day we did 420. And we didn't have a problem.
So 200 people are going to the state pool?
Oh, more than that. We were open, and as soon as the state pool closed because of an accident in the pool, They all came down. We added approximately 220 people.
Where the heck do they put 200 people
I
in
have
that
no
little
idea.
pool?
I have no idea. Well, not only was happening, it was the people that were there were kicked out, and then the people that were approaching, you know, they had a sign up.
And in turn, did you find that you gained some customers?
We did.
Yeah.
That's what happened with that situation, because the people came to our pool.
And I noticed the numbers
and a
have
lot
stayed
of them
up.
were families, and they said, "Oh, you have shade, picnic table?"
Yes.
That's, you know, people were looking at us like, "Yeah, how long you been here?" "Well, we've been here a long, long time." You know, and so we have gained a number of families who now that I see them every day, I say, "Well, no, aren't you going back to?" "No, I'm never going back to the state pool. This is beautiful." You know, and for all the same reasons that you said. Step into the pool. Now, the state pool is gradual entry.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is they don't have any trees. There's nothing like that.
There's
so.
you have 8 feet of concrete and a fence.
Yeah,
So there's
a
no
fence,
place
you
to,
know.
I was
there's
gonna
no
say, wait a
sunbathing
minute.
lawn, there's no shade.
The grass area was awful short.
Yeah.
There wasn't much room there
Yeah.
to
No.
spread out.
No. And they've lost some of it too when the new construction, when they redid the pool.
Right.
And when the turf facility went in, that whole complex, you remember there was a lot of talk about, oh, what? You know, $3 million? What? This is crazy. And
Turf, no.
when it's done, you drive by and it's like, wow, look at this facility.
It's still crazy.
Right,
Yeah,
but
I'm
it's still-
sorry.
The
right,
numbers
right.
are crazy.
You know,
But
we
I'm
grew
saying
up,
as far as the
Yes.
overall look.
when your father was young, he
Yeah,
could have
okay.
bought Milford for $3 million. They would have
Of
thrown in
course.
Hopedale. Come on.
But I'm saying just the view. You're not putting a Band-Aid on it.
Right.
You're going to get a new
No,
facility.
no, but all kidding aside,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, $3 million is tough. But this is why we squeeze. You know, I mean, every year we've had a surplus now for 13 years because the department heads save our backside every year. You know, I mean, how many times we had to come and say, yeah, I'd love to help you, but no, can't do it this year.
Yeah.
But
If
on
you
the other
wait your
hand, when
turn.
you had your truck break in half,
Yep.
I mean, that was kind of weird that the finance committee was telling you to move an expense forward.
Yeah.
But that's Milford.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
We've always had that ability to put money aside, you know, rainy day, whatever, but the planning has always been good.
Now, you're not going to mess with the trees, right?
No.
Okay.
We worked around, I mean, basically, we're building, for the most part, where your existing pool is. And again, no, and actually, we're in an open area too, where the building goes.
And then where the playground is off to another section where there's no trees. Where-
Now, that splash pad, that'll be towards towards the annex?
Yes.
Yes.
Towards the annex, yes.
in between the walkway and that space as you come in,
Yeah.
the walkway to your right.
Maintenance-wise, will this new pool be easier?
Oh, my God. Excuse my language.
I mean, you're not going to go out there and put bubble gum on the cracks anymore.
It will
Okay,
be
but
so much easier. I can't even, I don't have enough time tonight to explain maintenance of what I do right now. It's just, it's beyond,
Pools are basically, they become automated, and again, the technology, you have to, just, first of all, getting the filtration equipment out of that pit and up to an area you can access easily. It's all monitored. We bring a data line out to it. If something goes down wrong with the pool, someone gets a signal saying, we have a problem with the pool, they can go
like we
down,
did at
look
the high
at it.
school. Now
Yeah.
it comes on my phone, an alarm.
now, how do you clean the pool? You don't, I mean, private pools, they got the little thingy that runs around the
Well,
bottom.
they have them for big pools too.
You can do that too.
But, no, you know what? I found that over the years, we used to use those at Milford High School. And we did away with them all. And we went
Now
back,
you use
we went back to
teenagers?
hand vacuuming. I find it to be just, we get it done quicker. It's just as efficient with the new machines that are out there. And, yeah,
Well, it's gotta
plus
be-
it gives my lifeguards a job.
There you go.
And that's the idea.
Going
We
in,
hire Milford kids,
going in
summer
the,
jobs.
going in the vault to change, oh.
Yeah, you know,
I never had that pleasure.
no, filter changes, so,
But now, it's got to be higher maintenance because of all the trees. I mean, that was always the argument at Casey. If you put trees, the leaves get in, you get problems.
No, we you know, in the fall, that's a big part of our cleanup. And we just find a day when the wind's not blowing the wrong way, and we blow them away from the pool. So over the years, I think Peter would say that there's,
Yes.
there is still some that go in there,
Yes.
but a lot less than there has been in the past.
yes.
And that's just a plan in.
And it won't be as bad as if we have, like Tom explained, the ability, if we have the ability to keep, well, if there's a cover, it won't be bad at all. But even if there's not a cover and we can keep water out of it, the situation is much easier to clean up. Right now, when I walk in there in the springtime, whatever leaves have gone in there, it's like we shovel muck for days.
But we've
days.
also gotten a,
Can't get
Just a
Tui to
few
bring
years
down the
back.
Tui toy and just squirt it?
we have what's called a hurricane. It's a standard blower, and it's a very strong blower, and that can actually go into the pool and drive right and blow it right out. So we've been doing that the past couple of years, where that's assisting Peter and his crew when they come in to
Yeah,
you know,
this year the
remove it.
cleanup
We've been
was
getting- we've been
much,
getting
much
a lot
better.
out.
Much, much better.
Now, is the pool greener? You know, when I think of all the chemicals and everything you got to
No,
use.
Right now, if you went down today, I would say, I would compare it to swimming in Bermuda.
No,
The
but
water's gonna be blue.
maintaining the new pool versus the old one. Any environmental benefits?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Well, right,
Tom
yeah.
would-
Well, first of all, you would be using a lot less water. The fact you're also not leaching your chlorinated water into the Charles
Well, see,
River
that 20,000 gallons a day of chlorinated water
is not a good thing. It
kind of gets me nervous about where is it going.
We're leaching it into the Charles River.
Okay.
And you know, the funny part about it, now just, it's a kind of a funny story. We had a situation a couple of years ago, we had the Mass Department of Health came out, you know, we had a situation at the pool. And of course, one of the things they immediately wrote up, the woman said to me, she says, "What are those little holes?" I says, "Well, they're like, you know, weep holes." She goes, "Well, what do you mean weep holes?" I said, "When the water gets up to a certain level, it goes out." She goes, "Well, where does it go?" I said, "It goes into the pond." She goes, "Well, what is that pond?" I said, "Milford Pond." She goes, "Where does it go?" I said, "That's the beginning of the Charles River." She said, "Oh, you can't do that. That's it. That's illegal." She wrote me up everything and everything. So finally, we ended up, I had to contact, you know, the Department of Public, whoever it is, with the group, the environment or whatever.
DEP.
And they said, no, they wrote a letter back to us saying, no, they're grandfathered, don't worry about it. Okay, so, you know, but that was the case. She said, "How long you been doing that?" I said, "Oh, 60 years. You know, it's like, you know, we're not gonna, you know,
It's a past
so this
practice.
pool,
It's all right.
this pool will solve a lot of those things. We are gonna be much
Because
greener.
it's not cracked or,
Well, it's also just the operation of the pool are just so different now in terms of you won't be losing the pool. You lose a lot less chemicals in terms of the way the filtration is set up. With chemical controllers, you'll use less chlorine. We'll use CO2 instead of any acid. So again, it's a lot safer as well
CO2?
for pH balance rather
Oh.
than using it.
Yeah, we
Because
use
again,
that.
the last thing,
At the high school, we do that.
And fully ADA compliant.
yeah.
Which
Yes,
we're
which is
doing the
what-
transition plan now that, you know, there's some upgrades that need to be done at the pool to make it ADA
So the
compliant.
bathhouse now will be ADA compliant and,
Yep.
Everything coming in
will
with-
be
by law,
ADA
they would
compliant.
have
We
to.
don't have a choice.
yeah.
The new pool would have to be.
But if it doesn't move forward, then we would have to, as the department would
No,
have to
but-
do that anyways.
If it doesn't move forward, you shut it down,
It would
right?
be-
We will be out of
Well,
business.
whether
within
it's
a
a
couple of
year
years.
or
Within a
two
couple of
or
years.
three.
We will be out of business.
I mean, I think that's what people have to
Yeah, we'll be
really
out of-
deal
We
with,
will be out of business.
is do we want, and it's funny, because you hear people refer to the state pool. It's like, that's not ours. You got Milford Pool, and you got the state pool. That's been there for 30-some years. It's never really become part of Milford.
No.
You know, but right now, I think people have to come to grips with $3 million gulp. That's horrible. But why can't you make it cheaper?
It's actually, what you're doing is a fairly economical little project. Where your numbers are in, it's really dealing with the site. You have a very complicated site with it's the fill, it's the adjacent to the river, so that you have a lot of site work involved into it. The pool itself, and again, I've shared comparisons with other projects. You're in the ballpark of what a municipal pool is. You're not putting anything extravagant in. It's a very basic pool. And I think, which again, you get a lot of water out of it, very easy to maintain, and very, in that sense, being cost effective.
And we should be able to increase our usage. The splash pad within itself is going to be an attraction. We obviously would change our fee schedule.
Why?
Well, because it would just be automatically to do something like that. We haven't exchanged our fee schedule for years.
Okay.
We probably should have upgraded it,
But I mean,
you know.
this
but
pool,
I'm not talking.
this pool's never going to break
no,
even.
No, there's no pool that breaks even.
That's what I'm say. I mean, you know, you can't
I don't
sit
know
there
anybody
and
in the
say,
business that has a pool that breaks even.
even at $200 a day,
Yeah.
the mortgage on $3.5 million alone.
Yeah, no,
There's
no
no
way.
So this is not done
No,
to make money or break even.
not at all.
Just like the youth center, just like the senior center. No matter what we say, if we really look at it, that's part of being Milford.
a town of Milford. That's what we are.
That's right.
But now, as we look forward, 200 people. How many of those are Milford people?
Oh, I couldn't give you exact numbers. Nah. But I would say.
Is it 100, 150?
I'd say 70%.
So it is.
At least 70%.
It's very heavy Milford.
Very heavy Milford. Very heavy.
And the extra dollar is kind of a token to say, you're not Milford, so you're going to pay a little more because you don't pay taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all $4 versus $3.
No. That would be something that definitely would change.
Yeah, but even then, I
But
don't
you know what? You don't, as I said, Al, the people that come to the facility do go to other facilities. And they, when you say $4 for a non-resident, they almost laugh.
Oh,
like
we could put
it's-
in, water
they almost
slides and
laugh,
charge
you
80.
know? You know, it's like,
Yeah, but think about it. When we remember we were kids, you try and go down to Hopedale Pond, you couldn't get in
no.
for any price. They
No.
wouldn't let you in.
Nope.
You know, so it's nice that Milford is
And
opening.
that's what we are about, though. That's how we've always been.
Well, I
as a
mean,
town.
when I had family come in from out of town, it was nice. I could take them down there. We could spend
Absolutely.
the afternoon, and you know, it didn't cost you an arm and a leg.
Yep.
Any last words?
Again, I'll just repeat what I said earlier. I've born and raised in this town. I remember that pool from when I was a little kid. Learned how to swim there, worked there under Peter, and I think this town is fiscally responsible. It has the money, and I think it is a good project and worthwhile to do.
Jim?
Yeah, and seeing the project and working with Tom these last few months has been an eye-opener for me as a person that's lived in the town for 50 years and very familiar with the pool and have worked around the pool for all these years. And and in speaking with Peter and now seeing the other side, seeing the numbers of people that use the pool that I wasn't familiar with, being a resident for as many years as I have been. And I just think it would be a shame if we would have to close it.
And coming to an end, there's a lot of things we do, especially old grumpy people like me who are always accused of being too fiscally conservative, and I'm proud of it. But when it comes down to our heritage, this is Milford. This is one of the things that, as you heard, we all say the same words because we all grew up going to this part of Milford, just like Stacy, just like the Armory, like a lot of things that makes Milford special. So you have to think, and unfortunately this one is not dollars and cents only, it's the heartstrings being tugged. Do we want the Milford pool? Because that's going to be the issue. And then how do we finance it? So thank you for everything. Thank you for coming, Tom.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
And
Thank
as
you for having
always,
us.
for our 6 loyal viewers, may God bless and may tomorrow be a better night than tonight. Thank you.
Not too long since I've been home. Been running all my life just